Thanks, Natasha and your viewers. The ruling by Judge Sutherland is important in several respects. One of those is that it reaffirms the independence of ICASA. Two, that the ICASA, in issuing the invitation to apply to assign the spectrum, it did consider competition's concerns and also the issues of regulations and policy. So the judgment by Judge Sutherland deals and clarifies those issues, and we are very happy with regards to how Judge Sutherland dealt with the issue. There are two grounds that Judge Sutherland granted the interdict, and we think that those issues will be clarified through Part B of the application by the Department of Communications, Telecoms, in relation to the ITA.
All right, Mr. Mohlaloga, what had informed ICASA's decision to auction the spectrum?
The process of licensing the spectrum, as you know, it has been dragging for a long time, and we have been busy preparing ourselves to do that. Last year, we published the information memorandum, which would have been a consultation process for us to be able to issue ultimately the ITA, and which is what we did in July this year. So it was important for us to issue the spectrum, given the penetration of smartphones and smart devices, which require spectrum, and at the moment, spectrum is binding constraints in terms of the growth of the economy and of course the sector. So it was important for the authority to issue an invitation to apply so that those constraints can be alleviated.
All right, I'm going to get back to those constraints now on internet connectivity and Wi-Fi and data, and that as it has been in the spotlight of late. But I just want to ask you this. MTN was one of the companies that had sent you a list of 100 or so questions regarding the process of the auction, the pricing of the spectrum. How did you arrive at 12 billion rand?
There is a particular model that we followed in terms of arriving at the reserve price. And that issue is also one of the issues that are going to be subject to Part B of the review application, and I think those issues can also be clarified at the time when Part B of the review application is had.
All right. What happens next? What steps are you going to take? Will you be appealing this?
No, we are not appealing this. We are going to, remember there were two applications. The first application was to interdict the process up until the substantive review is had. So what this does is to say, look, let's wait up until the substantive review is had by the court and take it from there.
Will you be speaking to the minister about this at all? He is the complainant in the case.
Look, in relation to this process, the court was clear that SLC has got to file its affidavit, and any other parties that have got interest in participating in the Part B of the application can do so. If there is any other issue that anyone wants to talk to us about, we could, but we've got to respect the legal process that is ongoing.
And finally, Mr. Mohlaloga, I'd just like to ask you around internet connectivity, Wi-Fi and data costs. This issue is one that has been in the spotlight, as I said earlier. What is ICASA doing actively on this?
Cost to communicate has been an important project since 2010. We started with voice, and we have issued two call termination rates starting from 2010 and 2013-14, and that's why we have been able to realize significant decrease in the cost of voice. And the glide path for voice ends next year. When we issued the call termination rates in 2013-14, we did indicate that the cost of data is something that we've got to look at in the outer year of the glide path for voice. So we have started already in collecting data. There's a prescribed process in terms of the Electronic Communications Act in Chapter 10 that we need to follow, and we're going to follow that process so that ultimately we arrive at a conclusion as to if data it's expensive, by what amount is it expensive, it is not, and so on. So there's a scientific process that we need to follow, cost modeling exercise that we need to do to ensure that the cost to communicate in relation to data it's affordable.
All right, Rubben Mohlaloga, the Acting Chairperson at ICASA, thank you very much for joining us. We'll take a short break.